Thanks for joining us in this edition of the Council Recap. Council met Monday, October 7th, 5:30 in the council chambers. Focus of this council meeting was really assessments. All these are public hearings for various things across the city. The first item was for tax forfeited properties. There was a sewer assessment on one of the tax forfeited properties of $19,325. As a new owner assumes ownership of a tax forfeited property, we maintain our assessments, in this case sewer, against the property, so that had to be reassessed to the property. Next was for snow removal for the 2018-19 season. These range from $26 to $395. So it's important to make sure that your sidewalks are taken care of and snow is removed. We had garbage and junk removals. Those costs ranged from $65 to $1,028. We also had public hearings on the weed and grass removals for those folks that failed to keep their grass trimmed. Those charges were $104 to $425 in assessments that we put back against their taxes for the work that we've commissioned. We also had miscellaneous sidewalk and driveway projects in the right-of-way when somebody's panels are replaced for sidewalks or the driveway apron is replaced. That ranged from $130 to $955 for different properties that were assessed. We also had administrative citations. Folks get an administrative citation if we come back to their property and haven't addressed the initial cause, so they face an additional $100 charge for their violations. And so there was ones from Park and Rec, zoning, rental housing, and sump pump inspections. Council approved and had a public hearing on administrative citations. We also had hazardous building abatements, so you'll see from time to time we have demolition of a house that's been neglected and become a nuisance. Those costs are pretty expensive. Those range from $2,200 to just over $15,000 to demolish the structure. So council approved those and held a public hearing on that as well. And one unpaid daycare inspection of $147 in that instance. So basically those costs are for enforcement measures with the city to make sure that people are abiding by the ordinances, and if they need corrective action, we take that, and then those are charged back against the property in the form of taxes and assessments, so those have to be paid when tax season comes. So, and that makes sure that all our existing taxpayers don't have to foot those costs, that it remains to the individual property owner. If you have any questions on those, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to hear and explain a little bit more in detail if you have questions on those. We also had council approved a sponsorship agreement with the community band. They get outside grants, and that helps us be the fiscal agent for them. CIMAC required us to form a sponsorship agreement. They've gotten up to $3,000 grants from them in the past, and they wanted us to have a sponsorship agreement, so we approved that with council. We had donations to the city, and then we also adopted what's called a rural taxing district for property that's out by the new Ashley Furniture there that was the former Target. That area is still largely rural, but we annexed it into the city. Again, that was in an effort to try to have the property prepared for any kind of commercial development, that we'd be ready to go, and that's one thing that we can address that makes the property more marketable for development and ready for development should that come. But at the same token, recognizing that it's still rural in nature and establishing a rural taxing district, which we have a handful of those around the perimeter of the city. We also had some reallocation of Park and Rec funds for the Community Rec Center. That's to abide by some of our contractual provisions with the Y and the upcoming new Community Rec Center, so council approved that. We transferred a liquor license for a liquor store over on the east side. They'll be operating under a new business license, so that needed to be transferred. We designated the polling places for 2020 election. The state makes us certify those annually, so we did that again for this year. We also had several properties, nuisance properties, for the contract the power for removal of junk and illegally stored vehicles. We had a handful of properties that council approved those. Otherwise, that pretty well rounded out the council meeting for October 7th. If you have some questions on this, I'd sure love to hear from you. My number 437-9941. Send me an email, craigc@ci.austin.mn.us, if that's more convenient for you. Either way, we'd love to hear from you, answer your questions, and make sure we're attending to your needs. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Council Recap. Take care.